Hi, I am the Nuclear Rabbit and today I am finding every aspect I could ever dream of. Getting into a bare-knuckled fight for dominance, diving into a barrier, slapping a puppy, face tanking a demon, finding more items, getting puked on, end up fighting Lilith, get tossed around by snakes, smash a bug, find useless unique items, and have an old woman watch at me from the sky ominously. In other words, I am going to be playing a pulverized druid. The run starts off with fighting X-Fall, who tries to stomp me like a Goomba. I end up deciding that I want none of that and start smacking the demon in the mouth. At damage raise, I promptly start losing. Despite him kicking my ass, he decided that it's a good time to draw a pentagram on the ground, and cause this isn't Dragon Ball Z, I just slap him to death in the meanwhile. Apparently I have enrolled into drawing school because Vinard starts off the fight by throwing some crayons at me and making a level 2 drawing. At least she is a bit smarter and decides to be invulnerable while drawing. I play Smash or Pass with Chort before hitting level 10, allowing me to upgrade my potion. In the fight with Lilith's Lament, I am joined by a knight in shining armor who makes an epic entrance before being slapped back to irrelevancy, only staying in the scene cause he makes a barrier. To be fair though, I wouldn't exactly be at the top of my performance wearing an Iron Maiden either, so he's much more of a trooper than I am because I would just be running to the hills, quickly becoming a Phantom of the Opera during the fight. Either that or I would just die with my boots on. While having everyone wasted years on my jokes, the Lament goes down and drops me a pair of gloves. Vigo drops me his amulet, which I believe is a guaranteed drop because I've done like 5 runs of the game at this point of recording and found it every single time. The gloves are okay as well. I go and say hello to what is me after one of my hardcore characters dies, on whom I apparently make so much of an impression he runs off scared. At this point I have made it to level 15, which opens up my boon quest, which is a druid only quest, which involves you going back in time and fighting Bearable, a demon who actually turns out to be a much harder fight than I expected. He hits hard and his fire is something not to be taken lightly. Luckily I end up putting him down into stun, allowing me to whack at the demon's life pool before taking him down. The quest continues with getting skill check to see if you can press a button and not do a single thing a few times. I pass the skill check and a cute horsey pops up from the pool of blood, telling you that it seems to have misplaced its body and if you can go out and find it. With having proven to the game I can still press a button to complete a thing, I complete the druid quest, which now grants me access to boons. My quest to save Sanctuary from Lilith's very reasonable plan that I actually kind of agree with is being put on hold because I saw the most important creature in the entirety of the Diablo franchise, a treasure goblin. These are important for 2 reasons. First off, loot. Second off, they are a check to see if you are dealing enough damage. With the questing being ignored and my damage checked, I pick up the ring. It turns out to have a perfect roll on a shouting aspect, which finds me up on a mountain fighting Arida, who is one of the coolest fights in the game in my opinion. Lightning is flying everywhere, you're getting knocked around by her traps, and the soundtrack here is easily the best in the game. I end up sending her back to reunite with her unkept dead and make my way off the mountain. While doing so, I end up coming across another treasure goblin, so on pause the quest for saving the world goes again. The goblin ends up dropping me a helm that grants +2 levels of earth skills when I have fortify. I'm not using any earth skills, so it's kind of moot. However, I was wearing effectively nothing, so it's an upgrade nonetheless. I walk up and go pet the puppy, to which it responds with what is becoming a trend that I am not in for at all, by lighting me on fire. Astaroth starts sweeping at me while making it rain meteors from the sky, but I slap the 2 of them around a bunch and they run away cowardly again. This time however, I am able to give chase and walk straight into the fire again. With the 3rd time being the charm, I managed to mostly not get my face burned off while dealing damage, resulting in me taking the fight. My reward comes in the form of pants. Once again an upgrade in stats, but a useless aspect for my build. Pulverizing my safety and technique cause I saw a shiny, I follow a treasure goblin into a pile of monsters, this time getting rewarded with a legendary chest armor, granting me increased dodge chance and fortify. Seems reasonable enough, so I equip it. Eminem would be proud as I slap some judgment into Mother and get a ring for my troubles. And holy mother of Sanctuary, have we hit the jackpot. This is the best in slot aspect. If you look up guides for this build, this is what they recommend you to work towards as your biggest upgrades. Allow me to damage save. Instead of dealing a small area of damage, we are now wiping our asses with entire screens of mobs at the same time. Nothing is safe and screen after screen gets pulverized into oblivion, straight into Arida's care. Not even bosses are safe as we go ahead and troll on Brawl, netting me a new mace in the process. I decide that even though I am not wearing a shield, the 24% increased attack speed is worth it and decide to use a one-hander without a shield. Having cleared a ton of monsters, I've collected quite a lot of spirit offerings rings that I casually deposit in the worst way possible, spending the maximum amount of spirit I can before unlocking any skills. It's a good thing I'm cute and punch like a truck, which Elias finds out the hard way a couple of times. I run into Lilith's retconned daughter, who traded parents like Pokemon and is now Tathamet's daughter. All joking aside, this is a very fun fight. Andariel has a bunch of AoE spells and has ways to lock you down to stop you from dodging said attacks. The new design with the whips and chains also makes me feel things I hadn't felt until I realized as a 13-year-old boy what her original design was for wearing a t-shirt. I advise her to take a nap in the sand and realize she has weird feet, so I decide to borrow her boots, which turns out to be a great idea because they are a massive upgrade. 32% movement speed is very welcome. At this point of the run I am almost criminally underleveled, which I use as an excuse as to why a random ass bear can slap me to the ground and get the closest to killing me in the entire run so far. However, just like in Highlander, there can be only one, so I murder his face off and move along. Towards Molon, the Snake Queen. She spits her poison and pimp slaps me with her tail, causing me to be thrown around the arena like a ragdoll. To thank her for her time, I pulverize her. I find another legendary helm from an event reward. It turns out to be a Juggernaut's Archon helm. And just like in StarCraft, Archons have an absolute crap ton of armor. And this time I'm not getting EMP'd. With my armor almost doubled on the spot, Elias is wanting another round of fighting. With me being this underleveled, the boss fights are actually really fun. Seriously, I cannot recommend this high enough. Having this much fun has also made me realize I would love to be able to play the campaign on a tier 3 or even tier 4 difficulty. Taking down Elias rewards me with my first unique item, a Hunter's Zenith ring. I'm still in a really weird spot about uniques in this game. I rarely want them over the aspects that legendary items provide, but they tend to be massive stat stakes, which during a run like this actually makes for some very interesting item decisions. I could also switch builds, but I'm not really into that. But decisions like these are what I wake up for in the morning. Well, that and coffee. Having reached level 30, I get another upgrade to my potions, and at this point it is time to head into the endgame of the campaign. It starts off with Usnu the Annihilator, who for some reason is back to being parallel to my own level. I don't get why they stopped ramping it up here, but I decide to slap first and ask questions later, so I deal with Usnu in the only way I know how to. Whilst casually popping some walking pimples in a blood-covered room, Duriel pops up among them from the ground to tell me that popping all of them really doesn't drop any loot or anything else, despite people rumoring it for over 20 years. I love the text box screen, by the way, it looks so silly. To me it could have said Duriel goes rawr just as easily. And he is so sick of the rumors that he decides to attack me. Silly thoughts aside, Duriel still got it and starts punching my face like it's a 2000s loading screen. The safety allows me to make short work of the buggy demon, and just like with Andariel, I decide his feet are weird, so I borrow his shoes. They end up having less movement speed, but are also less conditional. See, another fun decision, more like this please. Realizing this will probably be the last time I won't forget about it, I go and fill up the spirits before running into hell. In here we are going back to being criminally underleveled. Even in hell my pulverized laser blasts through entire screens at a time, but my health is definitely on the lower side, which ends up with me being the most fun kind of build to play, a glass cannon. Every single fight at this point is becoming more of a either I die or you die situation. Like Mashif, I look on in awe at the power Deckard Cain has to create an even stronger barrier than I do. So he stops the rain and I go and kill Ninja. The Ninja fight is followed up by the best camera angle in the game. Against Ashava, the game shows us what would have been possible all the way through. But I do have to say that I get why they didn't do it for the entire game. Your character speed feels glacial during this fight, and a big part of that is because it feels like you have more distance to cover. You really don't, but it looks further away. All of that, however, could be solved by making my character move faster from the start. Please Blizzard, I beg of you, increase the movement speed around the board for all Diablo games. Another sideway comment later, I started actually commenting on the fight. Ashava looks amazing and has an excellent sense of style, seeing as how the demon is using a pulverized build combined with a poison setup for AoE, like all the smart people are doing. My life total plummets after a single hit and I realize I actually need to pay attention again, cause this demon will murder me if I don't. So I decide to stop playing bad and play good instead. This results in me dodging every single attack except that one the demon throws at me, while Deckard Cain locks down the demon for some serious pounding. And just as in a very forced Hallmark moment, we take a demon down together and celebrate. But while the others are celebrating, I grow my shoe collection yet again. Seriously, why do these demons keep buying shoes? They don't even have have real feet. The shoes end up being very useful for the most part, except for the part where they aren't, cause I'm not using the Nature's Fury passive. This is followed up by what I think is one of the coolest additions to the Diablo franchise ever. A Mega Man style boss rush is exactly what the Doctor ordered in a game all about proving that you are strong and powerful and can kill everything by clicking on. And the 2-on-1 boss rush really shows that there is someone out there making good decisions for Diablo 4. I would even love a 3-on-1 Uber Tristram style fight in the campaign. In the off chance anyone working on the game ever sees this, can we replace all the boring walking and waiting around parts for stuff like this? During the boss rush I reached level 33, the final level up I ended up getting during this run. I celebrate by killing Irida in 3 hits. After that it is time for the final fight, the fight against Lilith. There is nothing else past this in the game, nothing at all, nothing. I walk up and slap her, but it is such a weak slap she doesn't even bother responding, so I decide to knock a bit harder with a pulverize. This wakes her up and she starts proving to the world that she is easily the best boss fight in the game. I end up stunning her and taking down her first phase. The design for her second phase really shows that she's Mephisto's daughter. It's so cool, she looks so amazing. However, it is getting in the way of me completing the run, so I call myself lucky that I'm not near those exploding things on the screen and get to work on her life total. She starts making the arena smaller, which is weird because she is the one that can fly around and use the range against me. My life total gets a big scare when I refuse to dodge her blast. I walk onto another slice of pizza that Lilith is just cutting off. Luckily I can easily make it out in time. She trips while catching up to me and I just start wailing damage at her. Having learned my lesson, I dodge the second blast. She follows up by storm eagling over the arena and cutting off some more parts of it. One final pulverize later, Lilith goes down and the game is over. I pick up my final rewards, a legendary axe and a unique ring. The axe is fine, but I don't need the axe effect on this build. Mother's Embrace is another item you always find. Item wise, I was using the Juggernaut helm, a chest armor with some dodge chance, some random ass gloves, pretty terrible pants that don't fit the build at all, boots with a bunch of armor, some dodge chance and some movement speed. Weapon wise I just upgraded every single time I found something that dealt more damage. I probably went through over 40 weapons during this playthrough. A pulverized laser cannon ring that made me the Lord of Destruction instead of Bale, the Mother's Embrace I just picked up, and a Vigor's amulet, which I don't think is very good. I just never found any good amulets throughout the entire run. For spirit boons I ended up using Advantageous Beast for movement speed and impairment reduction, swooping attacks for 15 increased attack speed, energized because it fuels spirit so I can pulverize more, and I never ended up getting enough spirits to unlock the final row of passives. Skill wise this is what I'm working with. My base skill is Maul with Enhanced Maul and Wild Maul cause I like the knockdown. I had a point into Heart of the Wild to get to Wild Impulses to get more damage. I obviously maxed out Pulverize because that's the whole point of this build. I spec'd into Raging Pulverize for my upgrade. I maxed out Predatory Instinct cause I like dealing more damage. I have 1 point into Debilitating Roar for some damage reduction. I took the innate Debilitating Roar upgrade because the slow enemies is great crowd control, something that this build finds hard to get. I maxed out Poison Creeper with Brutal Poison Creeper for some more AoE, a second type of damage for when things are resistant, and because 20% increased crit chance is very powerful. I put 1 point into Trample because it's a nice get out of jail free card for when you are stuck. I also really like things that allow me to move faster. For this I took the Savage Trample upgrade. I like having more spirit because it allows my Pulverized Cannon to fire more often. The Neurotoxin passive allows me to stack even more slow onto my enemies while using the Poison Creeper, giving me much needed crowd control to work with, and I ended up taking the Envenom passive as well to increase my crit chances even more. Key passives are very obvious to pick and this build is no different. I took the Ursine Strength because it's the only one that works with my build. With everything said and done, I want to talk about some other stuff that doesn't really fit in with the rest of the video without destroying the flow of it. It is time to talk about how I approached this run and how it greatly improved my enjoyment of the game's campaign. It just kept bugging me that since season 4 I've been really enjoying the game a ton but couldn't get into the campaign. I recorded a ladder playthrough with every class, but all of them were just farming levels and getting high level. There was no soul, no story, and I found myself bored of playing like that after a few weeks. I'm just not a farm endgame until the end of time kind of guy. Same as when I still worked a AirTag's real job. When I've hit my goals and I'm done, I want to leave and go do something else. I don't want games to last an undefined amount of time. I find that after about 20 hours on the same character, I get bored and want to play something else. So I started thinking about how I approached the Diablo 2 campaign and how I could transpose that to how I play other games, but in this case specifically Diablo 4. I realized that in Diablo 2 I skip all the optional stuff and spend as little time in town as possible, which I ended up doing for this run as well. I ended up spending no time in town except for clicking on quest stuff. Story is also something I tend to check out after beating a game I like instead of during. I just want to focus on gameplay. If the gameplay is good, I will check out the story later, but if the gameplay is bad, I just cannot get myself to care about it. So I skipped all of that as well. I ended up barely using any of the NPCs and just using the slow moments in the campaign to just toss stuff on the ground, instead of going back every single time. I never came close to filling up my inventory, and my stash spent the entire playthrough collecting dust, and I have to say it greatly improved the campaign for me. Instead of feeling dragged out, I was actually sad when I was already done with this run, cause it only took me 6 hours. Going through the game at this pace, I ended up a bit lower level than I would like to in the end, but it improved the boss fights greatly. I can't wait to run in a low level bad gear character and see how it goes. I did end up regretting going in on World Tier 1, but didn't want to switch halfway through. But those are just the kind of things you learn while routing a new game. I'm also curious to know if I missed stuff that people would love to see in a playthrough that I just didn't think about showing. I mean, I'm sure I've missed something along the way where you're like, oh man, how did he not show that? Just let me know and I'll incorporate it if possible. Hardcore wouldn't have made a difference for this run, cause I never died, but that might just be because my gear was so friggin' nuts. I don't know, and I'm looking forward to pushing the game harder and finding out. I already have a hardcore tier 2 run recorded as well, and I absolutely loved doing it. The difficulty felt much more in line with what I enjoy, so I hope you all will as well when it gets posted. Thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please leave a subscribe, it really helps, and I'll see you all in the next one.